Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy Catherine Connolly, please.
2 years ago, almost to the day, I and certainly like-minded colleagues on this side of the House were given a mandate to come in here and effect change in relation to a number of critical issues, including health, housing and public transport. In relation to health, specifically the subject of my question today, we came in here knowing the health service was in disarray, under pressure and really bursting at the seams. Indeed, that is what led to the setting up of the cross-party committee which produced the Sláinte Care report in May of last year. There was no action following that report and no sense of urgency until, under pressure on the 12th of January this year, 8 months after that report, an announcement was made about a recruitment process. Simultaneously, we were told about the results of the review of capacity, which told us what we all know, that there is an urgent need for more beds. I certainly, and none of my colleagues, expected solutions overnight, given the long background of underfunding of the health service, but we certainly expected a sense of urgency. And Taoiseach, I'm asking you really to come with me on a journey in the next 2 minutes to Galway City, where we had 46 people waiting on trolleys today, 52 yesterday, the second highest in the country, and every second day the highest in the country. And we know from Dr Hickey and other very experienced clinicians that this leads to 350 to 400 deaths per year. We know in Galway that the hospital is at crisis point, lack of capacity places at number 1 on the risk register, and then its sister hospital in Merlin Park, which has been raised by me and other TDs in this chamber. On the 4th of September last year, there was a leak. We were told a few weeks for repairs. On the 13th of September, a further leak. We were told engineers, architects had been appointed. We were told it would only be a matter of weeks, and during that time they were to look at alternative arrangements. Capacity, if any, in the hospital that was bursting at the seams, capacity in the private hospitals, or any other way they could source alternative care. However, we are now 6 months later and the two theatres remain closed. They are repaired. However, a clinical review has told us they are no longer suitable. The design is not suitable to modern standards. We have a situation where modular theatres are now promised for next October, 13 months after the water first poured in to the two theatres in Galway. And we know that on average 60 patients were scheduled. 160 have been seen in the hospital, no other alternative arrangements have been made, and we have approximately just under 1,500 patients waiting for knee and hip replacements and surgeries. We have been told one solution and it hasn't happened. We've been given various scenarios that haven't happened. We've had linguistic gymnastics, while people with hip and knee have no idea about gymnastics. Now, Taoiseach, I'm asking you today to take a hands-on approach and to clarify to this stall, if you're not in a position today, as soon as possible, when the two theatres that are closed scandalously for over 6 months will reopen.
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach.
I want to, at the outset, acknowledge the enormous disruption which has been caused for some patients and to our health services in Galway as a result of the works that have been carried out at Merlin Park Hospital. These have been done in the interest of health and safety of patients and staff. I am informed by the Minister for Health that the HSE is committed to ensuring that full elective orthopaedic capacity at Merlin Park Hospital is restored. In September 2017, leaks in the roof of the building that houses Merlin Park Hospital's orthopaedic theatres occurred, and that necessitated the closure of both theatres. The tender process, I've been informed that a full repair of the membrane of the roof was required to secure the integrity of the building. These works are now complete. Notwithstanding the repair, the theatres date from the 1950s and don't meet current clinical standards. An independent clinical assessment has been undertaken to assess the feasibility of returning these theatres to use. And the hospital management have advised that the best way to restore effective capacity at Merlin Park is through the provision of 2 modular theatres on the site. So this has now gone to tender, and the tender for these new modular units is at the final stages, and it's expected that the contract will be awarded in the coming weeks, with works to take place thereafter.
Connolly.
Taoiseach, I really don't know how to express my disappointment with your reply. 2 theatres are out of action September of last year. You're repeating the same type of response for the last number of months. A clinical review has been carried out. The clinical review has said the current design does not meet current surgical standards, begging the question as to why that wasn't done prior to the repairs, why it was done after the repairs. Furthermore, we're looking at modular theatres, which were supposed to be a temporary measure, and they won't be up after 13 months after the water poured in. How can you stand over this situation in Galway as Taoiseach of this country? We were led to believe in October at a meeting convened under pressure by the Minister for Health that this would be sorted out. We're now looking at a situation where beds in the hospital in UCG were reopened, begging another question as to why beds were closed on Finbar's orthopaedic ward in a hospital that's bursting at the seams, and now they suddenly can open beds to facilitate Merlin Park. We're also discovering that another solution is to open an old theatre in Merlin Park. Every time we get an answer, we get a different answer, and the answer that you're giving has been clearly told to us months ago.
Thank you, Deputy.
Repairs were completed months ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach, to continue.
The answer I've given the Deputy is the one that I have to hand. Obviously, I'm not charged with dealing with this issue on a day-to-day basis. Those that are, the management of the hospital and the Minister for Health may be able to give the Deputy a more up-to-date answer. But I am told that some elective orthopaedic surgeries have now been provided at University Hospital Galway. And between the 20th of October and the 29th of January this year, 88 patients had procedures carried out at University Hospital Galway that would otherwise have been carried out at Merlin Park.
Leaders.